Hello, my name is Melissa and I'm a planner with the municipality. This is a voiceover recording of a presentation from a public information meeting that was held on Thursday, May 21st, 2026, regarding a request from Macall Robinson on behalf of Emily Peckford to rezone 1016 Main Street in Kingston from the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zone to the residential multi-unit R4 zone to permit multi-unit dwellings. The proposal is to rezone the subject property as seen outlined in red to permit multi-unit dwellings. The site is approximately 1.56 acres in area, or just over 67,000 square feet. It is located on the south side of Main Street with approximately 219 feet of frontage. This is a map of the municipality. The red circle on the screen indicates the approximate location of the subject site within the eastern side of Kingston. And so this is the process for land use bylaw map amendment applications. The process starts with the county receiving a completed application from an applicant, and then we hold a public information meeting. And so the meeting held on Thursday, May 21st is one of the very first steps of the application process. Properties within 500 feet of the subject property were notified for this meeting, along with towns and villages within 5 kilometers of the site. The next step will be a staff review, where staff determines if the proposal meets the policy within the municipal planning strategy. This part of the process also involves sending the application out to other bodies of jurisdiction, for instance, the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, who is the body who has jurisdiction over the road. Also during this process, this application will be presented to the Kingston Village Commission as the site falls within the Village of Kingston boundary. Throughout the staff review part of the process, staff draft a report for the Planning Advisory Committee. Once the report is complete, it is then presented to the Planning Advisory Committee, who will make a positive or negative recommendation to Council or provide alternative direction. The application will then go to first reading, where Council will vote whether to authorize a public hearing or not. If this proceeds to a public hearing, the public again have the opportunity to speak at the meeting and will be notified in advance. After completion of the public hearing, it is time for second reading by Council, where a vote to deny or approve the application would occur. Finally, there is a 14-day appeal period, regardless of what the Council decision may be. And so this is a map showing the zoning of the general area. The subject property and the majority of the surrounding area is also within the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zone, and properties to the south are within the comprehensive neighborhood development R5 zone. The uses of the area are similarly residential, and the rails to trails is the parcel along the rear lot line of the subject site. This is the future land use designation map. The site and surrounding area is in the residential designation as shown in yellow. The designations identify what land can be used for, and if changes are proposed to be made, what those changes can be. Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 3.1.2 outlines the residential zones and allows each of them to be located within the residential designation. As both the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 and the residential multi-unit R4 zone are within the residential designation, this means the municipal planning strategy does not prohibit the rezoning of the land if all other policy components are met. And so this is a potential resolution map that shows what the zoning would look like if the application was approved. The next few slides are images of the subject property. This slide is an aerial image from the other side of Main Street looking towards the subject site. The properties to the right are residential uses, and the parcel to the left is currently being developed. The parcel to the rear is the Kingston Rails Trails, which separates the subject site from undeveloped residential parcels within the R5 zone. And so the next few slides are photos from a site visit that staff took in April with the property owner and applicant. These images are looking west and east along Main Street from the existing driveway of the subject site. This is showing the existing dwelling on the site and looking towards both yards. The development scene occurring in the right image is on an adjacent property under different ownership. And these images are looking across Main Street from the driveway and then looking towards the back of the subject property from the driveway. These images are looking towards part of the side yard of the subject site. And so this is looking at the entire backyard as bordered by the fence on the right, treed buffer at the rear, and neighboring development on the left. The municipal planning strategy contains policies that allow council to consider a rezoning application. We call this enabling policy. In this case, policy 5.3.3 enables council to consider this rezoning. The planning strategy has a list of zones that can move within any designation. And so as mentioned, designations are a broad category that identify what land can be used for, and if changes are proposed to be made, what those changes can be, meaning they determine how rezonings can occur. Policy 5.3.3 enables Council to consider this because the new zone is enabled in the designation. In considering, Council must also consider other policies. The strategy outlines the residential zones and places them within the residential designation, meaning that the municipal planning strategy does not prohibit the proposed rezoning if all other policies are met. Further, staff will consider policy 5.3.5, which requires a review of any specific policies for the proposed zone, a review of the impact of the proposed development along with other possible uses the proposed zone permits, and a review of the general criteria, which I'll go through in the next slide. So this is the general criteria. As part of the policy review, staff reviewed the application against policy 5.3.7 of the municipal planning strategy. Council has established this criteria to ensure that a proposal is appropriate and consistent with the strategy. The following table outlines who the assessing authority for each criteria piece is specific to this application. The county is the primary reviewer for the majority of the criteria aside from where jurisdiction changes, such as if determining if the proposal could create traffic hazards or congestion. This would be assessed by the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works as they are the owner of Main Street. Adequacy for fire protection would be assessed by the Kingston Fire Chief, and the adequacy of sewer would be the Village of Kingston. Staff also look like things like land use compatibility, adequacy, and proximity of things such as schools and more. And during the staff review portion of this process, staff will review all the mentioned policies, and the findings would be included in the Planning Advisory Committee report. And so as a reminder, this is the process the application will go through. This presentation is a voiceover recording of the public information meeting that was held on Thursday, May 21st. Those meetings are not recorded in person, so this is a voiceover that was recorded following. And then the next step in the process will be the staff review. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.